Yeah.
Sorry, they are back
Yeah.
there. Next time, I ought to really have them separated into the 5 individual lines and see if anybody says anything. They may not, but
Maybe.
you never know.
Exactly. All right. Good deal. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Soulcast. This is Jacob,
This is Drew.
and we were reviewing I guess I don't know if you call this a classic yet or not.
It's based on a classic.
It's based on a classic.
I think it's a decent adaptation of a classic.
Agreed.
I don't know if it's old enough to be a classic, though.
No, it's not.
I know Retro Rewind couldn't review this yet because it's only 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah. So if you're wondering what movie we're reviewing, to be like, just look at the
you just
Look
look,
at
at
the
the description, like down there,
down there and right
or
there,
up there, probably
somewhere around there.
somewhere. There, that direction, wherever your Chrome tab is.
Yeah, or wherever you're.
I'm
watching.
assuming you're watching on the internet.
Yes. So we will
And not on the cell phone, because the cell phone's the internet also.
That is true. So we will be watching Blue
Anyway,
Skies. We'll be watching
Reviewing Blue Skies. Shining on me. Nothing but blue skies. Do I see
the Peanuts movie.
bluebirds singing a song? I don't know the rest of the song. Never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Oh, blue skies shining on me. Nothing but blue skies shall I see. Do you know why I know that much of the lyrics?
Why?
Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay. Alrighty then. All right. So if you have not watched the Peanuts movie, this was my first time watching the film.
Second time for me.
Yeah. So you can. It's available on Disney Plus if you are a subscriber to Disney Plus, and it's worth a watch. It's very friendly, family friendly, and it's an enjoyable film to watch.
Indeed.
So go check it out. If you have seen it, come back and comment down below what you liked about the film, what you didn't like about the film, and get a conversation started, and we can proceed with our review in a few minutes.
Indeed. While we're waiting that few minutes, you do have a pun for me.
Yes, I do.
Good. Now the big question is,
do you have one for me?
Exactly. Actually, I think I know yours perfectly, and I don't mean that with a pun. Because there are no cats in this movie.
No, there's not.
They're in a different movie starring Bill Murray.
And probably
that was Bill Murray in Garfield, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So to quote one of your favorite movies, be prepared.
Yeah, we're not
going there.
I could.
You could.
Very easily could.
Yes. I could completely. Yes. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
If we weren't live, I would be saying something, but I don't want to talk ill of those who can't be mocked in person.
Okay.
Just think of the first couple verses of Be Prepared, or the first couple lines, and think about someone we know they might be describing.
Yes. I believe, I think I know where your train of logic is going.
Yes, you probably do. Hey, Wendy, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for joining us.
We'll be getting started very soon.
Yes.
Just giving time for Facebooks and Twitches and YouTubes to resolve across the internet and notify people.
Twitch Oh, Twitch. I thought it said Switch or
Well,
tweets.
well, I don't have the tweets, not the Twitter connected to our live stream because I'm not sure how.
Yeah.
At least on this system. If I ever get it going through Streamlabs OBS, then I can do that.
All right.
But I don't have that quite set up yet.
All right.
Mostly because it's going to require us to move to a different service.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to move just now.
I got you. Totally get it.
Because then I have to learn all new stuff. Although ironically, I think it wouldn't be free because in order to do the Facebook page and not just my Facebook thing, we have to pay money.
I got
which is weird. But anyway.
Alrighty.
And we're still rocking that $10 a month special Black Friday deal I got that time on
Nice.
StreamYard. So yes.
Nice. Yeah, that was a good call.
It was I'm laying in bed. It's Black Friday. I just got an email from StreamYard. Yeah, I'll move on this deal.
Yeah. Why not?
What's it gonna hurt? Just gonna make things a little bit easier for us.
Exactly.
Anyway, you ready to start this
Yeah,
thing?
let's jump into it.
All right. Starting in. Well, it would be starting in if I was on the soundboard. Starting in. Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's got a rivalry with a certain German dogfighting acrobat. What is the word I'm looking for? Aviator.
Yeah.
Aviator. Jacob, how have you been? How have your fights against the Red Baron gone?
Oh, apparently not good. My plane got shot down into 1 billion doghouse pieces.
Shame.
It
Shame.
happens. It happens. I gotta say one thing. You thief!
Come on. It made more sense for me to introduce you with the Snoopy reference.
I got you.
You're the dog. You admit this.
I get
When you're super stressed, you bark.
Agreed. For those who don't know, I have Tourette's disorder and I bark like a dog. Hopefully it won't happen here.
And we love you for it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm still waiting for the day because that'll be fun.
All right, so now I have to figure out a very quick pun for this guy. Thank you very much, Drew. I should have known it. I should have known, but
More sense.
I
Introduce you as Snoopy.
agreed. So, anyways, why? Thank you. Let me introduce a co-host, a man who has attempted over and over and over again to kick a football. Welcome, Drew.
Lies and slander. I have never cooked
a football. Wow.
I've not done that either. I have never kicked an oblong, misshapen ball down a cow pasture.
That's not what Lucy said.
Lucy lies. And this should be well known by now. Besides, who in our group is Lucy?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone from our group is Lucy. Wait, no. I just realized who was Lucy, but we're not going there tonight.
Okay.
Anyway, how are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing well. It was kind of a stressful day at work. They've got my schedule shifted so vastly different from its traditional that it's like, okay, I get to sleep in this day, and then I got to get really early this day, and then I get to sleep in this day. I mean, it's just paradoxically differently, but overall it's pretty good. Came back from the retreat, in which we'll talk about it in depth in a few minutes. Yeah, doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing good.
Okay.
Sorry, I was typing.
Ah.
Yeah, I had a good time at that retreat with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Leading up to that was a very busy week,
Yeah, agreed.
as it always is right before a holiday or
Agreed.
a day off, when they realize, oh yeah, you're not going to be here. You're the only one who can do this stuff. Quick, do it all right now.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, kind of leading.
I was debating whether or not I would actually answer the phone if they called me on Friday.
So kind of leading off of that. So regarding we went on a singles retreat with our church group, and my car decided to act up. I think it was on Wednesday, like Wednesday night. So I'm supposed to leave Friday. So I go down to my local mechanic, and he says, "Oh yeah, got it fixed." Go to my work, have someone check my taillights. It didn't work.
Right.
So at the same time, I'm dog sitting that entire week. So, and then I take my car back down to my mechanic, and he says it won't be done until Friday. So at this point, I am panicking.
Understandably.
So this is my only mode of transportation. I do not want to pay the $600 to do a rental. And plus, on top of monthly apartment payment, no, absolutely not.
Especially since it came up last week.
Yes, it did. So by the grace of God, Mr. Horn was able to fix it. It only cost me less than $200 to get it fixed. Wasn't bad. I had the money in pocket. Yeah. So I got that done, thank the Lord. And so I was able to meet you guys down at the retreat where we were in the Dallas area for the weekend, and just had a blast and a half and a lot of conviction. That weekend. So in that regards, it has been a very interesting weekend and week.
Okay.
All right.
Well, since you are, I don't know what I was about to say there. I will get used to the split monitor system eventually. There we go.
All right.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you've been watching?
All right. So
outside of what we watched at the retreat.
That is true. So
because we watched, I'll just go ahead and jump on this real quick. We watched Parent Trap, which you came in during the middle of.
Yes. The original Parent
Trap. And you left before they started Christopher Robin, and then we watched Cruella.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I was already tired. So
fair enough. You may not have survived.
No offense, be like, I just driven there. So,
yes.
So yeah.
You would have slept through the puppy skinning.
Oh, don't tell me.
There's not actually puppy skinning.
Ow. Thank you, visual person here. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. Either way.
So there is murder most foul.
Oh, of course. So what have I been watching? I followed up. I was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2013, which is on Nickelodeon. I'm watching it through Hulu, and I'm just starting season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm on like episode 3 or 4. If any of you have ever watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2013, it's really good, very well written, and it's just amazing to watch. And it gets like really deep into the lore and everything. And it's just one of those shows that if you love, the nerdy things, or you grew up in the 80s with, the original Turtles, it's different, it's modern, but it's just good. It's just so good. So yeah, that is the only thing I have watched, except for a little bit of the original Parent Trap, in which I kept continually comparing.
We were both doing that.
Comparing.
We're going, oh yeah, that's obviously a composite shop. Why is it in the middle of the park?
Yeah, exactly.
And it made sense.
Why is it a blue screen?
Well, not blue screen. It was like, what do you call it?
Rear projection.
Rear projection. Thank you.
It was rear projection.
It made sense when they were in the car shop, because that was a standard technique back then, because that was far cheaper than loading up a car with a camera, and then you'd have to re-record the audio anyway.
Yeah.
But when they're just walking through a park
and it's not even tracking correctly.
and the shadows aren't even matching.
No, they're not.
They're kudos for trying with the shadows. You missed.
Yeah, from the 1970s.
I guess I don't remember when it came out. But anyway,
yeah, just like watching that film and understanding where its remake came from, it gives you a little more. It's like, okay, understanding of where where it started. And plus, poor Haley Mills, she tried. She tried to do an American accent, just couldn't.
Keep talking.
So either way, I mean, like, yeah, that was a fun movie to watch. And then I'm watching TMNT 2013 on Hulu, and that's a lot of fun.
Right.
Other than that, that is all I have been watching, quite literally, because I've been so busy. There's points where I really miss the getting off and able to watch a movie, go to church on Wednesday nights, and just go home and relax, watch a movie, maybe watch something I haven't watched before, and just have fun instead of I get home at 7 or 6 in the afternoon and dead exhausted. And hopefully and prayerfully that the people who are currently sick with COVID get well. And if you are the one people who are inclined to pray about things going on, there are a lot of people who are sick with COVID, and a lot of people have died because of COVID. So definitely keep those people in your prayers. Actually, a Sunday school class couple who actually don't know if they have COVID. Their daughter has COVID, so they are in isolation or quarantine for the time being. And yeah, that's just to make things fun. I'm pretty sure if you're a married couple, either A, it shows all the flaws in your marriage, or B, it strengthens your marriage. Because I've seen both.
Right.
Either way. So yeah, if you are inclined to pray for those, please pray for those that are suffering from COVID and the loved ones who have lost loved ones to COVID. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, what I've been watching.
All right.
Since you never actually introduced that part.
No, I didn't. What are you watching?
I don't know why that's funny. Anyway, outside of those things that we watched there at the retreat, I started a newer anime. I think it technically came out in the spring.
Yeah.
It's new for me, but technically it's not brand new.
Okay.
There's like 12 episodes out.
Oh, okay.
Already. And it's an anime a friend of ours has told me he didn't like, and I think he's nuts.
Okay.
Now that I've watched 5 episodes of it. But maybe it's just because I like the more slice of life style isekai anime.
That makes sense.
I believe it's called I maxed out my level by killing slimes for 3,000 years or something to that effect.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm going to actually look up the actual title.
Okay. So while Drew goes and looks up a obscure anime title.
Not obscure. It's just long as all get out.
Okay. It's a very long anime title. All right. So a question to the audience. What have you recently been watching? It's always interesting what people have watched recently. And maybe you have been like, oh, I watched this 5 years ago. It could be something old, something new, anime,
something
movie,
borrowed, something blue.
Exactly.
Josh
what are we in a wedding now?
No. Thankfully, no.
Thank you.
Josh did say that he watched Shang-Chi yesterday.
Oh.
Which I will say nothing.
Okay.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet because I was on retreat. I knew I was going to be retreat. That was a calculated move. I will see it Friday. Do not tell me a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I will see the next episode of What If before I see Shang-Chi. I think I'm fine. And Josh also says he has a prayer request.
Excellent. What's up, request?
Josh, what's your prayer request? Or if you don't want us to talk about it on the show, we won't.
Yeah,
But
just let us know privately. If you,
yes, worst case scenario, we can do a. Come on, I've been doing this all weekend. Unspoken. Couldn't think of the word.
Right.
Going brain dead myself, I think.
It's not COVID brain.
No, it's not COVID brain. It's just work brain.
Yeah, I understood.
It's Tuesday. That's also a Monday brain.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, huge shout out to a friend of ours, Ashley Cryer, for her testimony she did at the retreat.
Indeed.
That was amazing. Absolutely incredible. Kudos to Ashley for that.
Okay, so Josh is being a little slow, so if worst case scenario, we'll pop back in.
All right, good deal. We'll get to it in a minute.
Yes. Because we will go ahead and stop and do that if... Oh, here we go. He finally says, a streamer friend has a daughter who is having surgery on Thursday.
Oh.
So, yeah, we can go ahead and pray for that. You want to go ahead and do that?
Certainly. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, just thank you for this day. Lord, just pray for Josh's friend, his daughter who's having surgery. Lord, just be with the physicians, be with the doctors, be with the staff, the nurses, as they go through the surgery. We don't know the details of it, but Lord, you do. Lord, just give them guidance, give them direction, give them discernment in what their hands and their minds and the focus to be on. It's Lord, it'll be a clean and productive surgery, and whatever your will is, what will occur after will be glorifying to you. And I praise in Christ's loving name. Amen.
Amen. All right. So jumping back into the show proper. Back over here. All right. So yeah, the show I was watching was I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's about a girl named Azusa Aizawa who pretty much worked herself to death, literally.
Oh, okay.
And she got reborn in another world as an immortal spellcaster, which is the word they use, but she's not very witchy in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I watched like 6 episodes of that. It is not your typical isekai.
Okay.
Which, for those who don't know what isekai is, that is one of those things where a character goes to another world and they seem perfectly suited for it, and they have a better life there than they had on Earth. There's a lot of them out right now.
Yeah.
That's why they got their whole genre to themselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Sword Art Online.
Josh, I am watching the dub because I am a lazy good-for-nothing slob. No, I'm not a slob. I am a slob, but not in that sense. And I'm not lazy or good-for-nothing. It's just I prefer dub. I'm sorry. If I can watch a dub, I'm going to watch a dub.
Agreed.
That's just who I am. Anyway, moving right along. Other things I've been watching, my normal YouTube channel stuff that I do from time to time, watch from time to time. Nothing interesting there. Game-wise, I picked up Sonic Colors Ultimate. I have not started it yet.
On what platform?
On Xbox Series X.
Okay.
I probably will start that this Saturday evening on Sonic Saturdays.
All right.
So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got. What do we got in the news?
We got in the news. Not a whole lot. Let me pull up my pad real fast.
Where's my cursor? There's my cursor.
All right. So, the same studio that was behind Disney's live-action features of Mary Poppins Returns and Pirates of the Caribbean on Strange Tides, which are 2 films I have not seen yet. Cinesite.
I've watched both.
Yeah. Cinesite has been awarded the CGI animation work for the high anticipated series. I'm going to butcher this name. Aikua.
I have no idea. Iwahu?
Wahoo?
I have not heard of this.
Me either. It's a new series coming out on Disney Plus.
I don't doubt you. I'm just Googling right quick.
Yeah, it's apparently it's gonna be the new animation. It's gonna be a new No, it's gonna be a new movie. It's coming out from Disney Plus, and apparently, iCinema, Cinesite has been asked to do the CGI in the film. So that was the biggest thing on animation I could find.
Okay, it's an African word.
Yeah.
You know, I would prefer if these places, when they do have a word that's not, very Englishy, for those of us who don't really speak other languages, they would at least put the little thing down there so you can say, oh, this is how the word's supposed to be pronounced, instead of just 3 consonants and 2 vowels with no idea as to how they work with each other.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what all the little tick marks mean. I'm sorry. But Iwahu as my best guess.
I'm not sure. That's our best guess, and we apologize if we,
Yeah, I apologize. I do apologize if I get it wrong. I literally do not know.
Yeah. But either
apparently a Yoruba word, which also tells me nothing, but it roughly translates to the future.
The future. Okay. That makes sense for the image they use.
Indeed.
But either way, apparently that's going to be one of Disney's new projects coming out. Then apparently they got this company to do the CG work for it. That's
something like that you would need it, because that thing kept describing it as a Wakanda-like world.
Yeah.
Not just because of the African American influence, but be the futuristic setting.
Yeah, agreed.
So that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps. That's all the news?
That is all I got in the news.
Okay, well then why don't we go ahead and jump into our spoiler-free section of our review of the Peanuts movie. Did you ever read the Peanuts comic strip?
If I did, when I was a kid, I primarily just looked at the pictures. I was the kid and it's like, ooh, something.
Fair enough. You are more of the artist, not the story reader.
Yeah, exactly.
At that time.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I know that was one of the comic strips I read as a child, along with, of course, Garfield and my personal favorite of all time, Calvin and Hobbes.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a lot of the later Peanuts comic strips, where it was more of the saccharine and not Peanuts, and not the more sarcastic Peanuts that the early ones are. I mean, literally, the first Peanuts comic strip is one guy say, "Oh, look, there goes Charlie Brown. How I hate him."
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a quote from the first Peanuts comic strip.
Wow.
I did not grow up in that era. I grew up during the era after all the Peanuts, or a good portion of the Peanuts specials, never called Peanuts when it was on TV, had aired. So I kind of have more of the sweet, almost saccharine take on it as my thought. And of course, let's face it, like all kids our age at that time, I was reading it for Snoopy.
Of course.
Because he's Snoopy.
Of course.
But after when I got older, I have gone back and reread certain parts of Peanuts in its collected form.
Yeah.
So I at least was understood. I had a good basis for what was going on when I first watched this movie when it came out back in, was it 2015?
Something like that.
Yeah. I saw it in a movie theater. Yeah, it would have had to have been 2015 because I had already moved up here to Jacksonville. But I watched it at a movie theater. I remember enjoying it. I remember having a thought about a certain character in the movie that I will talk about later on.
Okay.
Not to spoil a thing, but when I recognized this character was in there, and in their first couple seconds already kind of deviated from how the character was handled in the comic strip. Yeah.
All right.
We'll get to that.
All right.
But yeah, I remember enjoying the movie.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it this time. It was fun, especially fun to watch it in the group we watched it with, because we did watch it on retreat with almost everyone who had gone with us. They all stayed up and watched it with us, with the exception of one or two who just couldn't stay awake. But yeah, I remember enjoying it both times. And it is good. It is a kids movie, literally.
Very much kids movie.
It's almost all the actors are children, which is what Charles Schultz wanted in the first place. and it's done very well.
Yeah.
Highly suggest it for if you want to watch it. It's a good movie, especially if you got kids. Kids will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even if all they're paying attention to is Snoopy fighting the Red Baron.
Agreed.
Which is about all I would have at that age. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
My spoiler-free thoughts on the Snoopy movie, the Peanuts movie.
Now, might as well be okay. Fun fact: I'll get to this later again, but outside of the U.S., they always either had to put the word Charlie Brown or Snoopy, depending on how the original specials came out, because they didn't know it by Peanuts outside of the comic strip is Peanuts outside of the U.S. until many years later.
Oh, okay. In my defense, I never knew it as Peanuts. All I knew it as Charlie Brown because it was Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown,
right.
and
you knew it from the cartoon specials.
Yeah, I knew the Peanuts from
right.
And so my understanding of like the lore and everything about this movie that goes into this film goes zing because I don't know it.
Right.
It goes straight over my head. And so this was the first time I'm watching it at this retreat and just had a blast. And there again, there was a lot of conviction that weekend. Like even watching this movie had a lot of conviction for me.
That'll be interesting to find out.
So like I enjoyed the film. There's little problems here and there with this film, but overall it's an amazing film. Is it family friendly? Yes. Is it worth watching? Yes. Either A, you can pick it up physically, or B, if you are a subscriber to Disney Plus, you can watch it there. Other than that, it'd be like I enjoyed this movie tremendously. I'll get into those a little bit later in our likes and dislikes, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
All righty. Well, in that instance, or that case, or whatever term I'm trying to use there, we will jump into our spoiler-filled section on the other side of... That wasn't English. That just wasn't English. Where is the cursor? Here it is.
I don't know where your cursor's at.
Join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we will get to spoiling this thing. Don't forget that you can download. Don't forget that you can. Don't forget that you can listen to us record the podcast live every Tuesday over on our Facebook page, The Cellcast, our Twitch channel, The Cellcast Gaming, and on YouTube at Cellcast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon if you would like to support us monetarily. At $1, you'll get our everlasting thanks. At our $5 tier, you can get some artwork from Jacob. And on our $10 tier, you can get bloopers for every episode we've released that I've remembered to release them for. And you can get commentaries from different movies. So come check us out over there if you would like to support us financially. This podcast is part of the Culture Box Media Network. For more great content like this, please check out the link in the description. There you can find other great shows, such as The Untold Podcast, which is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story presented in a unique and dynamic way. You can check out their podcast at untoldpodcast.com. Also, we are a part of Pop Americana, where you can enjoy other shows like Franchise Fatigue. Do you like movies? Of course you do. I bet you even like big movie franchises like Star Wars, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Indiana Jones. And obviously, since you listen to us, you must like listening to movie reviews. But what if I were to tell you there is a podcast that reviews film series one movie at a time? You like that? Well, then go check out the Franchise Fatigue podcast over on your favorite podcast catcher and listen to James and Gabe give an in-depth analysis and review on every movie in your favorite franchise. What the sad thing about that thing is?
What's that?
I can feel me getting tongue twisted while I'm listening to it.
Agreed.
Because there's a part of you that's saying it along with it.
Yeah.
At least for me, anyway.
Yeah.
and I can just hear myself going. "Da, da, 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 da."
I absolutely love it that you kept most of the bloopers in. That you kept most
It
of
was
your.
funny.
I agree. It was funny.
Anyway, jumping back over here to the chat. That's the word I'm looking for. First, Josh posted this, which is 3 hype explosions.
Okay.
Then Diamond and cheering.
Okay.
And then over on Discord, he told me that I still had the chat in emote only mode.
Say what?
I have been putting the chat room in emote only when we're not online, or I'm not online.
Oh, okay.
Because of some of the weird things happening on Twitch right now with some of the idiots out there.
Okay. Fair enough.
So in order so that we don't get taken down because of something stupid, I've been making it to where people can't just type in random stuff when we're not on.
I got you.
And then getting us kicked off Twitch.
Understood.
Which is what emote only mode is. And apparently I forgot to turn it back off before we started the show.
Whoops.
So I got that fixed. To which Josh then yells, "Freedom!"
That makes sense of why he said that.
Yes. Jack Cornwall says, "What's up, guys? Not much. How are you?" Then, of course, Josh said he watched Shang-Chi, his prayer request. He says, "Amen." And then he asked, "Dub or no dub?" Which I took, as you noticed, to say, "Did you watch the dub or did you watch the sub?"
Mm-hmm.
What he meant was, I meant more if there was a dub, but you still answered it. I'll look into that one. Fair enough. He says he started a new playthrough of Arkham City in his first playthrough of Far Cry 5.
Okay.
And he said, "Good grief." Spoiler alert, that may be the subtitle of this episode.
Yes, I agree. There is a lot of good grief.
Fun fact, the Peanuts characters are Christians. At least most are. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Wop, wop, 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 wop." I don't know why you had to say that.
It sounds like a burble talking from Thundercats.
Except it's a trombone.
It's a trombone. Okay.
It's a trombone. I'll
Okay.
get to that.
Okay.
He says, "Snoopy? You mean the Easter Beagle?"
Okay. The Easter Beagle.
Hey, it's better than the Great Pumpkin. He says the diamond emoji is from that streamer. Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. Hot bananas, cool beans, all that jazz. I think that's about all we got before we jump into the actual review of this show. So scooch on back over here. Mark. And bring up notes.
Yes.
All right. Coming back in. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie The Peanuts Movie. Listener discretion is advised. The Peanuts Movie was directed by Steve Martino, who also directed Horton Hears a Who. It was also written by Craig Schultz, who wrote Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown. Brian Schultz, who also wrote, I'm not kidding here, Left 4 Dead the movie.
Say what? Left 4 Dead the movie.
Yes. You know, based on the video game Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Just seems like an odd connection there, doesn't it?
Who wrote it again?
Brian Schultz, the grandson of Charles Schultz.
Okay, well, at least writing is still in the family.
At least. It was also written by Cornelius Uliano, who wrote something called The Space Race. And of course, it's based on the comic strip by Charles M. Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into the cast, Noah Schnapp played Charlie Brown. He is probably most well known for playing Will Byers in Stranger Things.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bill Melendez was both the voice of Snoopy and Woodstock, but this was completely due to archive sound that they had recorded over the many years of the Charlie Brown and Snoopy specials.
Really?
Yes. He also wrote the story adaptation for the 1979 TV movie The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hadley Bell Miller played Lucy, And in Barbie Dreamtopia, she played the Red Princess and the Blue Princess.
Okay, then.
Oh, it gets worse. Venus Schulthesis played Peppermint Patty,
Okay.
and she played a character named Kimbra in Dispatches from Elsewhere. By the way, if you hadn't figured this out yet, almost the entire cast has had no other big roles besides this one.
Yeah.
Just giving you that little thing. Rebecca Bloom played Marcy, and she was Robin in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters.
All right.
Francesca Capaldi played the little red-haired girl and Frida, and she played Nellie Chambers in something called Crown Lake.
Okay.
Alex Garfin was the voice of Linus, and in the Superman and Lois show currently airing on CW,
Okay.
he is Jordan Kent.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Noah Johnston played Schroeder, and he played young Mike Wazowski in Monsters University.
Mike Wazowski.
Anastasia Bredkinia, my apologies for me mispronouncing your name, played another character named Patty, which is a different Patty from Peppermint Patty.
Yeah.
I now know why they had to put Peppermint in front of the other Patty's name.
Okay.
She played Alex Posse Girl number 2 in Birthday Crashers. If I remember correctly, this was her only other role.
Alrighty then.
Marielle Sheets played Sally, and she was a villager in Kubo and the Two Strings.
Really?
Madison Shipman played Violet, and she played a character named Flora in Red Ruby. AJ Techie? I'm not sure how you say this guy's last name. I'm sorry, AJ. But he played Pigpen, and he played the character of Popular Boy in Mayor of Easttown. Marleek Marmar Walker was the voice of Franklin, and in something called Guys with Kids, he played a character named Yoda. I don't think it's the same character, Yoda.
Oh, okay.
But he was in a bunch of episodes. William Alexander Wunsch played Shermie, and he played a character named Brave Boy in 8th grade.
Okay.
Trombone Shorty was the voice of Mrs. Othmar and Mrs. Little Red-Haired Girl.
All right.
And he played a trombonist in a 2018 episode of The Simpsons.
All righty.
Last but not least, Kristen Chenoweth was the voice of Fifi. And in The West Wing, she played Annabeth Schott. Our Kingdom Hearts connections. Guess how many?
2? 1?
No.
One. Okay.
There is one, and it is a stretch, I will admit.
Okay.
Lauren Post, who is the narrator of the English audio description track. You know, the one that says...
Okay, you're going real deep on this
yes.
one. Wow.
She was additional voices in Kingdom Hearts 3. Literally, the only connection I could find.
Wow, you went deep on that one.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, the way I do that check to find all that, because otherwise, as you can imagine, it would take forever.
Agreed.
IMDb has a collaboration search.
Really?
Yes. You can type in whatever you want in 2 fields for instance, I'll put the Peanuts movie in the top one, and I'll put Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5, which takes care of 6 games. And I'll look and see if there's a connection there. And most of the time, this is where I find the bulk of the connection, since that's most of the games.
Yeah.
Especially with recurring characters. Sometimes I have to go to Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, and I'll find some more there. And then I'll find some in Kingdom Hearts 3. Sometimes, very rarely, I'll have to go into either the Remind DLC or Melody of Memory to find stuff. This one I just barely found, and it took me a while to figure out who she played in Peanuts because she was hid. I will tell you what.
Wow, that's a deep cut. Just say it. That is a very deep cut.
Indeed. So, what do we got in info and stuff?
Info and stuff. All right. So you can watch this currently on Disney Plus if you're a subscriber to it. On IMDb, it has a score of 7.1 out of 10. It was production-wise, it was produced by Blue Sky Studios, which no longer exists. and 20th Century Fox Animation, which I'm pretty sure no longer exists as well, or probably all got merged into.
I think it's technically 20th Animation, and it's technically a subgroup of Walt Disney Animation Studios.
That's what I presume. All right, so it was distributed originally by 20th Century Fox, which is now owned by the Walt Disney Company.
And it's no longer called 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, 20th Century Studios.
Although I have to say, I liked Schroeder's rendition of the 20th Century theme.
Yes, I agree. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Mhm.
That was funny. All right, so its release date, November 1st, 2015, originally premiered in New York City, and it was released countrywide, and the rest of the world on November 6th of the same year. Box office as an estimated budget of $99 million. Its opening weekend for the U.S. was $44.6 million. And that was on November 8th. Its U.S. gross was $130.1 million. And its worldwide gross was $246.2 million. Its home release, Peanuts was released, or Peanuts the movie, mind you, was released on all digital platforms on February 12th, 2016, before being released on DVD, Blu-ray 3D, back then when 3D was a thing.
Yes.
And 4K Ultra HD a month later on March 8th of 2016. The film debuted at the top of the home media sale chart for the week ending on March 13, 2016. The film has become available, like I said before, on Disney Plus beginning on August 7th, 2020, following the Walt Disney Company's acquisition of 20th Century Fox and Blue Sky Studios in 2019. So that is all I have for info and stuff.
All right. Getting into the summary. When the little red-haired girl moves into the neighborhood, Charlie Brown becomes infatuated with her, though worries his long-running streak of failures will prevent him from noticing. Him. After Lucy tells him he should try being more confident, Charlie Brown decides to embark upon a series of new activities in hoping of finding one that will get the little red-haired girl to notice him. He participates in the school's talent show, helped by Snoopy and Woodstock. However, he drops his act in order to help his little sister Sally. Attempting to impress the little red-haired girl with his dance skills, Charlie Brown signs up for the school dance and gets Snoopy to teach him all his best moves. At the dance, Charlie Brown attracts praise for his skills, but slips and sets one of his shoes to set off the sprinkler system, causing the dance to be cut short and all the other students to look down upon him once again. Charlie Brown is partnered with the little red-haired girl to write a book report. When she is called away for a week to deal with a family illness, Charlie Brown decides to write the report alone on a collegiate-level novel, War and Peace. At the same time, Charlie Brown finds that he is the only student to get a perfect score on a standardized test. His friends and the other students congratulate him, and his popularity begins to climb. However, when he goes to accept a medal at a school assembly, he learns the test papers are accidentally mixed up and it actually belongs to Peppermint Patty. Charlie Brown reveals the mistake and declines the medal, losing all his newfound popularity. And to make matters worse, his book report is destroyed by a Red Baron model plane. And he admits to the little red-haired girl that he has caused them both to fail the assignment. Meanwhile, using a typewriter, Snoopy writes a novel about the World War I flying ace trying to save Fifi from the Red Baron with Woodstock and his friends' help. Using the key events and situations surrounding Charlie Brown as inspiration to develop his story, he acts out his adventure physically, coming across Charlie Brown and the gang several times along the way. Snoopy defeats the Red Baron and rescues Fifi from a Zeppelin. When Lucy finishes reading, she calls it dumb. Snoopy retaliates by licking her. Before leaving school for summer, Charlie Brown is surprised when the little red-haired girl chooses him for a pen pal. Linus convinces Charlie Brown he needs to help tell the little red-haired girl how he feels about her before she leaves for the summer. Racing to her house, he discovers she is about to leave on a bus for summer camp. He tries to chase the bus, but is prevented from reaching it. Just as he is about to give up, Charlie Brown sees a kite fall from the kite-eating tree. The kite becomes entangled around his waist and sails away with him. Amazed to see Charlie Brown flying a kite, his friends follow. Upon reaching the bus, Charlie Brown finally asks the little red-haired girl why she has chosen him in spite of his failures. The little red-haired girl explains she admires his selflessness and his determination, calling him honest, caring, and compassionate. The other children congratulate him as a true friend and carries him. The film ends with Charles Schulz signing his signature on a Peanuts comic strip. In the mid-credits scene, Charlie Brown is about to kick the football from Lucy. She pulls it away from him as usual. Snoopy, Fifi, and his siblings are celebrating the Flying Aces' victory, but the Red Baron flies by, causing Snoopy to shout, "Curse you, Red Baron!" In a post-credits scene, the model plane is flying, but then breaks down and falls into a lake. Getting into the trivia for this episode.
Gosh. Yeah.
Snoopy's noises and Woodstock's chirpings are taken by Bill Melendez's performances from earlier Peanuts animated productions from 1965 to 2000, including movies, TV series, and TV specials. Years later, the same technique was used in Tom and Jerry 2021, where archived where our featured archive recordings of William Hanna, who did all the original screeches, yells, gasps, shrieks, howls, and screams for Tom and Jerry, heard in the original cartoons from 1942 to 1957. I bring that up because we didn't actually we haven't reviewed Tom and Jerry yet.
No, we haven't.
But we did react to it.
We did.
This is the first full-length Peanuts film since the death of creator Charles M. Schulz in 2000. This is also the first theatrical Peanuts movie in 35 years since Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, and Don't Come Back, 1980.
Wow.
Charles Schulz wanted to call his comic strip Charlie Brown. It had even started out as Good Old Charlie Brown, but the editors were worried about legal action from people who had that name. It started production as Little Folks, but because that was the original title of someone else's strip, his syndicate forced the title Peanuts on him. He hated the title, partly because it made people assume the character's name was Peanut, and didn't use it in any of the specials or movies, which were titled Charlie Brown or Snoopy. This is the first Peanuts feature to carry the title. The script was created in 2006 by Charles M. Schulz's son Craig Schulz and grandson Brian Schulz. The movie was released 50 years after A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, the first Peanuts animated special, and 65 years after the first Peanuts comic strip. Charles M. Schulz, inspired by his son's love for World War I airplane models, created the Red Baron as Snoopy's nemesis. A model Drydecker is featured prominently throughout the movie. Kristen Chenoweth, who voices Fifi, won a Tony Award for her portrayal of Sally Brown in the 1999 Broadway revival of the musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Really?
Steve Martino was chosen as director because the Schulz family was impressed with his adaptation of the Dr. Seuss book Horton Hears a Who in 2008. Per Charles M. Schulz's long-desired request, all of the children roles were played by actual children. Charlie Brown's attempt to write a book report on Lev Tolstoy's War and Peace was also a plot point in the 1986 special Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. Unlike this movie, in which Charlie's report is supposedly a well-written analysis, in the special, he received a D-. Also, unlike this movie, where Charlie was right on it reading and doing the report, in Happy New Year, Charlie Brown, he waited until the 11th hour to do it and didn't finish it until 3 a.m. on the due date. This was also lifted from a comic storyline. War and Peace was chosen because it's actually Charles Schulz's favorite novel. Steve Martino was the animators. I need to start that over. Steve Martino and the animators spent over a year looking at Charles M. Schulz's Peanuts comics to help translate the hand-drawn style of the comic strip to 3D digital animation. On the list of test results, the name Violet Gray and Patricia Reichart appear. These are the last names of Violet and Peppermint Patty in the comic strip, though they were only used once and twice in 50 years, respectively. This is also Blue Sky Studios' only film to not include a main antagonist. In the promotion of this movie, there were specific reassurances to the property's fans that its score would include compositions of the musician most famous for his music for the property, Vince Guaraldi. Where appropriate, the music can be heard in numerous sections, such as the opening skating pond scene that includes skating and Linus and Lucy. In the comic strip, many of the children are in different classes, and Peppermint Patty and Franklin are students at an entirely different school across town. In this film, some reason, they're all in the same class.
I was wondering that.
Especially including the younger siblings.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world?
Fifi's first movie appearance was in Life is a Circus, Charlie Brown in 1980, but she was never in the comic strip.
Wait a minute. The little sister was in the movie.
No,
but...
Fifi.
Oh, Fifi. Which one's Fifi?
That's Snoopy's girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
In the Red Baron story.
The pink poodle.
The pink poodle.
Yeah.
Well, Beagle Poodle.
Beagle Poodle.
You know who I mean.
Yes.
In most countries outside of the US and Canada, this film has the words Charlie Brown and or Snoopy attached to the title. This is primarily because the Peanuts characters in comic strip were virtually unheard of outside of North America until the animated TV specials made from the mid-1960s onward were picked up and shown in other countries from the late 1960s, early 1970s onward, often coinciding with the arrival of color TV broadcasting in those countries. As the show was frequently put into children's programming slots in those countries, and because of the growing appeal, especially with merchandising, Snoopy became the character who had the most appeal to youngsters. Also, the novelty pop song Snoopy vs. the Red Baron by the US group The Royal Guardsmen was released at the end of 1966 and was a surprise hit in many English-speaking countries, helping raise the character's profile and therefore being the most identifiable Peanuts character to young viewers. So when the TV specials started to be broadcast, the US title of the show was often changed to something more immediately appealing to young foreign audiences, such as The Snoopy Show or The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show. And this tradition has stuck to this day. After Charlie Brown becomes popular, the kids struggle over who gets his attention. Shermie, who has not appeared in the movie up to this point, grabs his arm and says, "I saw him first." In the first Peanuts strip printed, Charlie Brown walks by and Shermie is the first character to see him. He's also the character who I quoted earlier saying, "How I hate him."
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Various steps were taken from the animation to emulate the original look and feel of the comics and previous animated specials. The characters are animated in a more limited manner. Also, the trees and other foliage in the background are static and never billow or sway in the wind. When Snoopy enters his doghouse to fetch his instructions in order to help Charlie Brown learn to dance, he throws a bunch of stuff out. Amongst those is the painting Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. This is a reference to a running gag in the comic strip where Snoopy is mentioned to owning a Van Gogh, though the painting is never seen.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So Snoopy owns a Van Gogh.
Yes. Or Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Whatever. The little red-haired girl is number 4 on the list of students' rankings on the standardized test, and her name is indicated as Heather Wold. Heather was the name given to the little red-haired girl in It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown in 1977. Wold was the last name of Charles M. Schultz's real-life red-haired girlfriend, Donna Wold, who turned down his marriage proposal in 1950, the same year the comic strip began, and upon whom the character in Peanuts was based.
Wow.
However, Wold and Schultz remained friends until Schultz's death in 2000. The moving company is named Mendelsohn and Melendez after Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez, the longtime executive producers of the animated Peanuts television specials. Melendez also provided the chattering voices of Snoopy and most of the other animal characters in those specials. While the World War I flying ace is struggling to return to his airfield, he is briefly shown sporting a wiry mustache as he is crawling through the desert. This is a reference to Snoopy's brother Spike, who was named after Charles Schultz's childhood dog and appeared infrequently in the comics. Spike wore the same mustache and lived in the desert country near Needles, California. The dance moves the kids have are the same ones from A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965.
Okay.
With two differences. Schroeder's dance was newly animated since he played the piano in the Christmas special instead of dancing, and Violet and Patty have swapped dance styles from the Christmas special. When Charlie Brown erroneously finds that he got a perfect score, Peppermint Patty's test score of 65 can be seen at the bottom at number 14. This is not only Charlie Brown's actual score on the test, but also alludes to the comic strip's 65th anniversary.
Wow.
At that time.
Wow.
The Beagle Scouts, Snoopy's bird friends, who are all the same species as Woodstock, appear in this movie as the pit crew for Snoopy's plane in the World War I flying ace sequences. The birds are named Conrad, Bill, Olivier, and Harriet. In the comics, Harriet is generally portrayed as the toughest, while Oliver. I said Olivier earlier, but I think it's actually supposed to be Oliver. Likely the bird who appeared to mess up constantly in this movie is the dumbest. Snoopy's siblings, Andy, Olaf, Marbles, Spike, and Belle, appear in the mid-credits scene. 2 additional siblings, Molly and Rover, were created for the television specials, but not by Charles Schulz, and are omitted from this scene. On the back of the Sparkplug comic book, Charlie Brown recommends to Patty and Violet, a Little Folks panel can be briefly seen with Patty and Shermie. Little Folks was a single panel comic strip drawn by Charles Schulz from 1947 to 1950 and a precursor to the Peanuts strip. Lucy mentions real estate when talking to Charlie Brown about the little red-haired girl.
Okay.
A reoccurring topic on her mind in various media throughout the years. Linus's age was modified, so in this movie, he'd be in the same class that Charlie Brown is, and he'd have an average student. However, in the source material, Linus is younger than Charlie Brown, and he's way more intelligent than any other character, as he has lots of wise quotes on the comic strips. The last detail is implied when Linus analyzes Charlie's essay on Tolstoy's War and Peace and notes that it is really well explained and written, and whenever Linus makes smart remarks on Charlie Brown's emotional breakdowns, ironically enough, Linus gets to the 5th in the list of best degrees of the school's standardized test. Last but not least, when Charlie Brown is on the baseball field, he makes a snowman at the plate and gives it a bat. When he goes to the pitcher's mound, a scoreboard can clearly be seen in the background. Home field only has 1 number peg under it, because this was back before electronic scoreboards. And there are 3 pegs under visitor. This references how Charlie Brown's team never wins or scores, so of course the number hanging under home during a game would be 0. Which brings me to the end of the trivia. So, Jacob, what is your first like of this film?
Oh my gosh. My first like of this film would be it retains the classic like you said before, the fact that the producers and creators of this film took a year, like you said before, to analyze and study Charles Schulz style of how he drew Peanuts to make an accurate 3D rendering of this, because they just simply just like, okay, let's just take the model, let's make it look like Charles Schulz, but let's just make it look new. But they gave it a modern technological advance, but kept it that same art style and flavor and just everything. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
The fact that you like definitely with Snoopy, like he looks be like he both his eyes and his head's at a cocked angle. And I'm like,
he looks like he's supposed to look.
Yeah, he looks like Snoopy.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, with modern 3D animation in this, very very custom style drawing format is just brilliant.
Well, most of the time when you have a 3D animated film, they have one character model that they move around, and whatever angle that character is to the camera, that's how they look. That's supposedly the advantage. This, they went to all the trouble to match any time the character would have faced that way in the comic strip. That's how he looked.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the characters are seen from head on. Every once in a while, when the characters are side face, they have a certain way to look. the yelling shots when the group is yelling and they all kind of raise their head
Yeah.
and you can just see their mouth moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how it looks in the comic strip. They
Mhm.
went to such a degree of, because this is, by the way, my number one, like, also, they went to such hard work to mimic what is ironically a very cheap animation style,
Right.
and a multi-million-dollar film,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks gorgeous.
Agreed.
This is like a precursor to the what I call 2.5D, where it's still a 2D film or has 2D elements, but is also a 3D film, like we saw with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
This is a precursor to that in many ways, but
agreed.
this is so closely mimicking the look of the cartoons that you can't help but look and go, that is who they are. It is exactly what that's supposed to look like, to the point where you never, during the World War I flying ace scenes,
Mm-hmm.
you never see the bottom of Snoopy's doghouse.
Yeah, you never do.
He always goes to the edge of the frame, even when it makes no visual sense for it to do so. But that's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was Charles Schroed's style.
That's the style, and you can't mess with it and it still be considered Peanuts. It's the style of the drawing is just as important as the characters themselves.
Agreed.
And I love how closely they stayed to the line work of the original comic strip.
Agreed.
So I kind of jumped in on yours. Did you have anything else?
No, you're good. Just the painstaking detail they put into just the character design to make it look like Charles Schultz designs, the character designs for Peanuts. And there again, I'm very much being very precise how I say that, because it's Peanuts, not Charlie Brown or Snoopy.
Yes. Even though Charles Schultz hated the name Peanuts.
Yes. So Peanuts, the movie, just they are very, they honor Charles Schultz art style in this movie, and it's very much appreciated from an artistic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
That's my number one.
What's your number two then?
All right. Relating to Charlie's plight. So here's like we have a very dear friend.
Do you have unrequited love from a little red-haired girl?
Not a redhead,
or the equivalent of a little red-haired girl.
No. It's more having to do with. And so here's a setup. So a friend of the show, and a dear friend of ours, has told us in the past, where it's like, guys, you're going to be like, you listen to our podcast or watch it, and it's like, guys, you're going great, you're doing great, and they're like, Jacob, no, you're going to something personal. Don't do something personal. And thanks, Chase.
This could be. Oh, Chase.
Yes, Chase. So here I go, being very honest, because I'm the kind of person very honest and very open about things. Hush. So when it comes to Charlie Brown, because he has this thing about, because he doesn't think that people like him, and all he does is make mistakes, and he does make mistakes a lot. And I think it's just Charlie Brown he views things like extremely negatively about everything.
Mm-hmm.
If he does something right, he's going to see the negative side of it. But I mean, I totally relate to that, because when I was a kid, I did the exact same thing. When I was a teenager, I did the exact same thing. In my adulthood, I've still struggled with that. So with the idea of,
yes, he actually does.
Yeah, if you know me in any kind of level, let's say, yeah, I do. I'm very hypercritical of myself, and so that's something I'm working through. Something I'm praying through. So in that regard, I can relate to Charlie, and the fact that there was a survey out on Facebook, or not a survey, but someone posted a question. If you were able to go back in time and tell yourself one thing in four words, I literally turned it into a sentence, because it was, okay, don't be too harsh on yourself, and people actually like you. And that was honestly one of the things when I was younger. I didn't think people liked me.
Right.
And I thought I was stupid and all kinds of stuff, because, just learning disorders and what have you, and a whole bunch of other stuff I didn't understand at the time. But now I do understand it. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. But going down to the essence of it, that Charlie Brown is a very beloved character and a very beloved guy in the world of Peanuts. That the very beginning of the movie starts with everybody lining up in front of Charlie's house and be like, come on, Charlie. Because everybody likes Charlie Brown. The only person who doesn't like Charlie Brown is Charlie Brown. And I completely relate to that. So there was like I said earlier, the fact to be like this, the retreat we had was very convicting to me. This movie was very convicting to me in that regard, that like you can relate to a character. You can relate to a character so well that it reflects almost to who reflects you as a person. And that was like a gut punch. I was like, whoa, okay. So the fact that I do know that people do care about me, that do love me, and they want my best interest. And it's not that because I see all my flaws. I see all my flaws. We all do. And sometimes you just kind of get in that groove of just seeing all your flaws and, oh, no one cares about me because I'm, so and so and so and so. You're not. And it's learning to look past your problems, look past those problems, and just, see what people see in you and not what Satan likes to throw in your head, because that kind of going theologically in that, it's just, Satan loves to throw the monkey wrench in your life and just be like, oh, because you screwed up, you made mistakes, no one loves you, which is a complete lie. And it's learning to understand those lies, learn to understand the deception which the world throws at you, and two, Satan throws at you. So in that, it's finding your hope, finding your solace in something greater than yourself, and that is Christ alone. And that is something I'm working towards, that I don't look at everything negatively as much. And it's very humbling to watch a movie that you see yourself as a kid through Charlie Brown. So yeah, that hit home really hard for me. So my second is relating to Charlie Brown's plight. So into understanding that not everybody hates you. You are actually loved by people. People care about you, and they want you to be around.
And they definitely don't want you to eat worms.
Exactly. So just be mindful that when you think the world hates you and everybody else doesn't like you because you're just weird and odd, you make mistakes, realize that not everybody does. Everybody cares about you. You have a lot of people who care about you. So just keep that in mind. Just remind yourself every day that people care about you.
It's like our friends over at Geek Devotion say, remember you are loved.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that reminds me of a Cutlass song, but I'll get that to later. That's an amazing song. But either way, so yeah, Cutlass is a Christian band that I've loved for years. But either way, that is my number 2, and I got really open with that one. So yes, yes, you are loved, and people love you, and people want you to be around. So don't be so negative on yourself. Be hard on yourself, and just, yeah, that is my number 2. What's your number 2? Yeah, I went deep on that one.
No, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. You know what I mean. You know what I mean by it's no big deal. I'm not saying
I understand.
I'm saying I took no offense at your thing. Moving on. My number 2.
Okay.
My number 2 is how the Snoopy versus the Red Baron story mirrors Charlie's story with the little red-haired girl.
Okay.
Yes.
Agreed.
In many ways, it is because Snoopy is taking inspiration from what's happening with Charlie.
Well, yeah, because all Snoopy's is his imagination.
Yes. But at the same time, the way they mirror each other is like, it's almost like the Snoopy versus the Red Baron stuff makes it easier to understand what's actually going through Charlie Brown's mind, despite the fact Charlie Brown says everything that's on his mind.
Mhm.
But much like a certain someone I know, he overthinks it.
Agreed.
So yeah, Snoopy is man's best friend, as we all know.
True.
And in some ways, he was writing this, I think, as a way to help explain to himself what Charlie Brown was going through.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the Snoopy versus the Red Baron parts are still some of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
Agreed.
Mostly because it's the stuff that's the most out there visually.
Yes.
But yeah, I liked how they mirrored each other, and I liked how that looked. So yeah, my number 2 is Snoopy versus the Red Baron, mirroring Charlie versus the little red-haired girl.
So kind of paralleling yours the exact way. It's all of Snoopy's adventure. Like everything that Snoopy does is just like, oh, okay, what is this goofy? What kind of dog is he?
He's a beagle.
He's a beagle. He looks like a beagle, kind of.
He looks more like a beagle in his original design.
Okay.
Than the design you're most well known for.
Oh, okay. So he's a beagle.
He is a beagle.
So it's, the Snoopy's adventure, like anything he does, if it's like grabbing, like finding the typewriter and writing his adventure down, or like his writing the story and daydreaming of chasing the Red Baron, and what's his girlfriend's name?
Fifi.
Yeah, the poodle beagle dog.
I'm just going with female beagle.
Yeah, but she's got like really fluffy.
It's a poodle cut.
It's a poodle cut, but
on a beagle.
Beagles are short-haired dogs.
It's a wig. I don't know.
Either way, yeah, I'd just be like all.
Maybe she's just extra fluffy around the ears.
I guess, I don't know.
She could be a half breed.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a half breed.
Exactly.
But either way, yeah, just
we like mutts.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a mutt. Well, we're all kind of theologically, we're all mutts.
Yes.
We're all kind of blended together.
We all have one relation if you go back far enough.
Yes,
the same relation.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
a guy who decided to build a boat.
Indeed.
All right. So on that regard, it's just Snoopy. I mean, like anything that dog does, it's just like, okay, now I'm interested in what this dog is gonna do. If I don't care if it's him, just like him falling off of his doghouse is hysterical. Anything this dog does is hysterical. So yeah, Snoopy. Any like everything. Be like, even the fact like Woodstock. We know that's Woodstock.
Yes.
Even though we never hear his name in the movie. I know it's Woodstock.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard anyone in the Charlie Brown
Me either.
comic strip or special ever say the name Woodstock. And yet we know it's Woodstock.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, like growing up, because I was like, okay, it's Snoopy and this little yellow bird. And I could be like, oh, it's Woodstock. And be like, are you talking about the
I actually take it back, because Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, that musical, Snoopy actually speaks.
The dog speaks.
Yes.
Okay.
It's obviously done in such a way where like the audience can understand him, but nobody else can.
Oh, okay.
And I would not be surprised if at some point he says Woodstock's name there.
Okay. All right.
Or at least the version of the movie I saw did that. Of the television show I saw did that.
All right.
Play, musical, whatever. Okay. My number 3. Charlie Brown finally gets a happy ending.
All right.
Not something that happens in Charlie Brown movie. Now I know what you're saying. Doesn't all the movies somewhat, all the specials somewhat end more of on a happier note.
Right.
Yes, but it's almost in spite of what happened to Charlie Brown.
Right.
This is an actual happy ending. The entire climax of this film, it's been leading up to, he can't impress the little red-haired girl because he has to do all these other things. And it seems like it's going downhill. But from the very second the little red-haired girl says, I'll be Charlie Brown's pen pal.
Yeah.
we're in happy ending territory. This is
Yeah.
the best thing that's ever happened to Charlie Brown, especially considering the little red-haired girl's role in the comics as an example of unrequited love for Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
That's 90% of the troubles he has when it comes to love is his crush that he's had for almost the entire comics run on the little red-haired girl. And yes, that is all she's ever called in the comic strip.
Yeah.
Because Charlie Brown is so nervous, he doesn't even know her name.
Yeah.
And he's never seen her face. Which is why in the comic strip, we never saw her face.
Really?
Her face is only shown in a couple specials, which were all considered non-canon by Charles Schultz.
Really?
When they were made. And more on my feelings about her face, which sounds horrible, but more on my feelings about her face when we get to dislikes.
Right.
So, yeah. I like that Charlie Brown finally gets a happy ending. Which would normally bring us to our dislikes. But for a change, ahead of time, we actually had people tell us what they thought of the movie.
Yes, they did, actually.
People, do this more often. We want to bring you onto the show.
Yeah, thank you. Much
And
appreciated.
we finally had somebody. Admittedly, it was almost like begging to get it, but I got it.
Well, we've had people in the past like randomly like, oh, I really enjoyed this film.
Right. After the review has started.
That is true.
Please, we tell you what the next movie is, comment in the Facebook page. Go on our Discord. Tell us what you think of the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, where did it go? Yes. Our good friend Wendy, who was on the retreat with us, says, I thought it was cute. I like the references, some direct quotes, from the classic Charlie Brown movies. The animation was good. I miss the old school animation, but I understand this was updated for the younger folks. Still a good movie for us older ones, too. Nice ending. And Colleen says, we actually had someone else do this right before we started. I really enjoyed watching it. Haven't seen a Peanuts movie in years. The graphics are so much better now than they used to be. It's good. I don't know about better. But that's just opinion.
Right.
I still somewhat prefer the old 2D art style. But
yeah.
Anyway. So that brings us to dislikes.
Yes.
My good friend. Your first dislike.
Okay.
If any.
All right.
Of the Peanuts movie.
All right. So my first is like, well, there again, it's a nitpick. And there again, this movie, you go to this film and the directors and producers, whatever, expect you to know characters.
In all fairness, every Peanuts special has assumed the same.
Exactly. So in my regard, that my exposure to Peanuts, Charlie Brown, Snoopy is all through the specials. So be like, yeah, I know Charlie Brown
and MetLife commercials.
And yes, MetLife.
I forgot about the MetLife commercials
there are,
just now.
Yeah, there are MetLife commercials. So be like, yeah, it's knowing just like a little bit of the cast, like Lucy, and like several of the characters. Be like, you get to know, but like everybody else is like, who in the world is this? Be like Peppermint Patty. It's like, who in the world is this? Who's the other Patty? Like all these characters.
I never
like,
knew there was another Patty until I was looking through the comments.
Yeah.
Or the thing to find out, oh, there's another character named Patty. Which, by the way, that Patty was the one who really wanted to dance with Pigpen and didn't know who he was after he finally got a walk.
Oh, that was hysterical.
That was Patty.
That was Patty. Okay.
Regular Patty, not Peppermint Patty.
Not Peppermint Patty. But I was so lost in like all who these characters were. And being someone who had never.
It's because unlike all the other Peanut specials and comic strips,
yes,
they focused on everybody. They made sure the entire class was full.
That is
so they brought in every character who ever existed.
That is true. My point being is I did not read the comics.
Fair enough.
So all these characters they're referencing, it's like, okay, who's this character? And what is this referencing to? Or what? I'd be like, it's funny. I don't get the reference because I don't have the context. So there was a lot of like I said in the beginning. If you, it's that they are referencing from the comic strip, and most of the specials didn't elaborate who all these characters are. Neither of this is film. So if you're not familiar with the Peanuts comic strip and the in-depth lore of Peanuts, you are going to be lost as a goose. All these characters are
in-depth lore of Peanuts. I don't think that phrase has existed before. I hate to tell you this, but they don't expect you to actually know who all these people are. They give you what you need to know when the character shows up. That's how it was done in the comics.
I know, but it was just driving.
They don't expect you to have read all 50 or some odd years of Peanuts.
I'm aware of this.
All the comic specials. If you know the characters, yes, there is nice cameos and callbacks, but they're not required knowledge.
Okay. It's just like,
in reality, the only thing you might want before this is to have seen a previous Christmas special.
Yeah.
See Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
We might review this year.
Yeah, we might. So I think it was just like you had so many here. Let me back it up.
You know I have to defend.
Oh yeah, you're gonna defend it. So there are so many characters in this movie. Mm-hmm. There are so many characters in the movie that trying to keep track of who's who. And it's like, okay, this character, who's this character again? What's going on? And you have such a large roster of characters that it's hard to keep track of who's who.
I would say in
defend
reality
that.
I will defend it. I will defend it. That my defense is there are about 7 characters you actually need to know about.
Agreed.
Charlie Brown, Snoopy, the 2 easy ones, Lucy, Schroeder, Pigpen, Linus, and Sally.
Okay. Of
the regular cast, not counting the little red-haired girl, who is generally given her own introduction.
Yeah.
So you don't need to know comic strip history to her. And then maybe 1 or 2 others is nice.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you don't need to know why Linus talked about the Great Pumpkin.
Yeah.
Or why Sally calls Linus her sweet baboo.
Right. But
or is that Lucy calling Schroeder sweet baboo? I get them confused.
Okay, yeah.
Because I've read the comic strips when I was young.
Yeah.
It's been years. I've read bits and pieces from different parts of the comics history for my own intellectual curiosity, but I've not read all 50 years worth of comics.
Yeah.
I'm a human being and don't have that kind of time.
Understand. So,
but you don't, as long as you have seen I would say the general.
Yeah.
Specials
have the general core of the characters.
General core characters.
Yeah.
And they introduce pretty much, they give each of them their own small introduction.
Yeah.
As much introduction as they would have been given anything else.
Right.
Those main characters. They hit you, which tells you exactly what you need to know. And any other character is there for cameo purposes and to fill out the cast of that classroom.
I agree.
That is the entire reason. Because half those characters I don't even recognize.
Yeah.
I had to look up who the Patty was and I found out, she's the one who danced with Pigpen. Okay then.
Yeah.
Who's Pigpen? He's the dirty one.
Yeah.
That's how he's always been known.
Yeah, Pigpen. So
I love the joke when the sprinklers go off.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Washes his dirty way. She goes, "Who are you? Do I know you?"
But either way, my point would be is that you have this vast cast of characters that you simply don't get to know. And I understand you don't get to know them because it's by design, but it's annoying that you don't at least get like a moment to understand who they are as a character.
The next thing you're going to be complaining that all the adults are voiced by trombone.
That is a complaint.
That is not a complaint. That is the point.
What language is that? Trombone?
That is not the point.
I'm being facetious when I say that.
I'm aware of this. Can I get to a better dislike than yours?
Okay, fine.
Because this is actually a story dislike.
Okay.
Something I think they screwed up with. Because here's the thing. As I said earlier, the little red-haired girl's face is never shown in the comic strip.
Yeah.
Charles Schultz never drew her face.
Okay.
I'm not saying they should never have shown her face in the movie.
Right.
Because I think the reveal of her face in the end, when Charlie Brown finally gets his happy ending, is the perfect time for him to see her
face to face.
That's when his memory of her would truly set in when she is loving him
Yeah.
in much the same way that he has loved her this whole time. Where my problem is that they show her face many times throughout the movie. And it annoys the ever living crap out of me for two reasons.
Okay.
One, comic lore. And two, it didn't need to be seen, and it would have been a much stronger reveal at the end if they went to the trouble of making sure the camera never spotted her face.
I would agree with that.
Because it would not have been hard. I mean, but it's in her first appearance, you see her face, admittedly diffused by the glass.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember seeing that, sitting in the theater, go, oh, the little red-haired girl. Okay. And of course, we don't see her, and they're moving into the house, thinking, okay, it's fine. But we see her walk past the classroom door, and I was like, you showed her face! I don't care if it wasn't clear. You showed her face. You do not show the little red-haired girl's face until absolutely necessary. But you could have done it in such a way to where you didn't show her face in any way, shape, or form. Charles Schultz did it for 50 years. It could have been done. And I know this sounds stupid, but it could have been done. Done to perfection, and it would have been made that shot when we finally see her face that much stronger, because that's obviously what they're going for.
Yes.
Because even when they have to show her face throughout the film,
yes,
there is blockage. There's we never get to see any emotion on her face.
Yeah.
There's always something somewhat blocking it, but you can see it.
Yes.
They drew out the animated eyes and mouth moving. They did that, and I'm sitting there going, don't show her face. Show her from the back of the head like she was always drawn in the comics. Put a mask on her head. Except this isn't Halloween, so you can't do that. But do something. Have Charlie Brown run into her carrying a stack of books. Maybe even War and Peace, now that she's probably got to rewrite the book report.
Oh, man. Okay, one thing, I'm not laughing. I'm just laughing because it's just like your how would I say this? Frustration?
It's frustration. That's what it is. I did not show this. You'll note the night we watched this movie.
Okay.
I didn't show it because it's like I was already at peace with it.
Okay.
This is the first time I've gotten to talk about it in the forum with people who might understand what I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
They should not have shown the little red-haired girl's face.
Okay.
Until the last scene in the movie.
I would agree with you on that.
There's a reason her name is credited as the little red-haired girl and not what I say her name was earlier, Donna Moat or something like that.
Something like that. It was Moat.
It wasn't Moat. It was Mober or something.
Something like that.
It's not far up here. Now I can't find it now that I want to see it.
There again, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at I'm laughing at your frustration.
But you understand my frustration.
Yes, I do.
It part of it. Okay, yeah, it was
without understanding
Heather
the whole Heather Walt.
Because the thing is, there's a part of me, a very small part, that's annoyed as someone who read the comic strip and knew that Charles Schultz's intention was to never show her face.
Yeah,
there's that part of me that is annoyed, but that's the smaller part in comparison to the fact that they ruined what could have been the best part of this whole movie, which was the reveal of her talking to Charlie Brown and telling about all of these things she saw and loves about him.
Yeah.
And at that point, you could have Charlie Brown look up and finally see her, not her red hair.
Yeah. Agreed.
They didn't do that.
Yeah.
They went ahead and let us see her face.
Yeah.
I know it sounds stupid, but it does. This is how I feel. They should have, if Charles Schultz could do it for 50 years or however long he drew the strip, I think it was 50 years, then so could Blue Sky Studios.
Agreed.
Because a lot more of them worked on the film than Schultz did.
Agreed.
Anyway, what's your number 2 dislike?
My number 2 dislike. And there again, this is kind of a story nitpick. And no, it's not about knowing all the characters' names. It is.
How did Schroeder get an entire grand piano in that small little toy piano? No, I'm kidding.
That would be interesting to know. But no. Mine is, now correct me if I'm wrong, there is no resolution to the book report plot.
Other than they failed.
Yeah.
But that's implied.
Maybe I missed that part.
I don't think it's one of those things where I don't think it's important because once the book report got destroyed,
Yeah.
for the most part, everything after that would have been just, formality.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the book report got destroyed. There's no way he could rewrite the entire book report in what I assume is less than an hour.
Yeah.
And he had nothing to turn in, and so they both would have gotten a 0.
Yeah.
It's an implied resolution, but
Yeah,
you don't
I
actually
agree.
give the resolution. It was more, I think the heartbreak there was not that they got the 0, it's that he had to tell the
Little Red Girl. Yeah.
He caused the little red girl to fail an assignment.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think the teacher was a little nicer than that and allow her to extra time to actually redo her part of the assignment.
I would,
especially at that age.
Yeah. From my point of view, my perspective is if they could have done something more that it was implied that they were allowed to redo it because everybody was seeing what happened,
or at least her.
Yeah, at least a little redder girl.
That would still require everyone to come to Charlie Brown's defense, which they're not likely to do.
That is true.
Except this is before they realize they think he's a genius.
Yes.
This is before that point. So never mind. They've already taken the test and he's already got written his name on the wrong
Yeah, because
paper.
that would have made sense. Oh yeah, Charlie Brown did this. It'd be like it would have made perfect sense at that point, but they never do. It's just they moved on.
It was more detrimental that he lost the report in front of the little red-haired girl.
Yeah, agreed.
Than actually getting the 0. That's my only reason I can think of as to why they ended it there.
Yeah, I agree.
And not in the classroom.
Yeah.
And plus, I can see how having the extra scene in the classroom would have caused the pacing issue.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why. I don't know. But you would have preferred it if we actually found out they failed.
Yes. Like if they would have failed, or there again, what grade this would have been? Like 4th?
It's never said.
Yeah, they're little kids, but
I assume it's about 4th grade, all things considered.
Yeah.
Because they're obviously not kindergarten, but this is about the age Ralphie is in A Christmas Story.
Okay. So he's like 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, but I could see Charlie Brown being about that age.
Oh, okay.
Old enough to play baseball outside and not have to get the T-ball set out or whatever.
That is true.
And have a little sister who's also in grade school.
Yeah, true.
Obviously, that's not how they show it here because they show them all being the same age for some reason.
Yeah.
But
either way,
you live and learn.
Yeah, you live and learn. And you don't get loves.
Or do you?
Hush.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, so that's just like one more little complaint. We really don't get a solid resolution to that. We get almost like a passing, but it's just more like
it's implied.
It's implied, but it's more. Can we get a little bit more of that? Because that was such a like really big plot that Charlie has to finish his book, which the fact that he finished it in 2 days in a book that's normally read within 10 days, that's incredible. Or it's a little too impossible for a kid that age, but you never know. But it was just more like, okay, can we get like a solid resolution? Not just be like, oh, it's implied, but it's like a solid resolution at this point. That's all I ask.
Wait a minute. This is after they think he's a genius.
Yes, they do.
The kids ask him what they should do for their book report.
Exactly.
And the same day that he has to turn this in is when he has his assembly to celebrate his perfect score for him just to have to give it back to Peppermint Patty, which yeah, she's not a genius. Also, what kind of Scantron test can you draw a smiley face with and get a perfect score?
Yeah.
That's not a dislike on my part, but it's like, that would have been nice. All right, my second dislike?
Yes.
Why was it winter for most of this movie?
Winter's a I don't know. It's it's fun to be a kid and it snows.
Don't get me wrong. I understand the whole snow day thing at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Good start. I'm assuming. See, this is supposedly set. I think Peanuts is supposedly set in California somewhere.
Yes,
but a part of California where it traditionally snows. So not LA. Must be around the San Francisco area.
Yeah,
I'm guessing, which makes sense because that's where Charles Schultz was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still thinking it's only going to snow in January and February.
Right.
They could have spread this out to where the whole... It seems like the first 2/3 or 3/4 of this movie take place within the same 3 weeks.
Yeah, agreed.
They could have spread it out a little bit better. It would have made sense, and they could have had more spring months or have more of a thaw hit the grass. And I think I would have preferred it a little better.
Agreed.
Than what we get, because we get 3 weeks, one assumes, before spring break, and then the last day of school. And there's a mighty big time jump in there that a lot of other things could have happened.
Agreed.
I just don't understand. It's not that I hate winter.
Mm-hmm.
Although after Snowmageddon, I think I would be justified in such a hate. But it's just that because they chose the white background, or the snowy background, I feel like we get a very gray movie.
Yeah.
Which, if you're going for the black and white comic strip feel, that would have been your Monday through Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of understand. And maybe that's the thought process with the last one being the Sunday strip, because it's in full color in a way.
Yeah.
But in my way of thinking, I'm thinking I read more of the Peanut strips when they were in color, because I mostly read the Sunday strips growing up.
Yeah.
So to me, I would have liked more color throughout.
Okay.
The movie. It's not that there's not color. Don't get me wrong. It's not a black and white film, but it's a very monochromatic look for this film that I kind of wish had more variety in its coloring. That's just me. I would have preferred more of a spring looking movie than a winter looking movie.
Okay. Totally understand.
Maybe they thought that's why Frozen did so good and they matched the snow. I don't know. That's probably not it.
Just let it go.
Anyway.
I do not have a third.
I do have a third.
Okay.
The use of pop music throughout this film.
Okay.
I don't like the pop music in this film, mostly because I don't like general pop music.
Okay.
Especially modern pop music. But I hate it when that kind of stuff feels like it's shoehorned into the movie. Now, for the most part, the shoehorning does take place in the dance scene.
Yes.
So fair. That makes sense that they would go there.
Fair enough.
But for the most part, it just seemed like every time they did, like the montage had a modern pop music, and I just don't feel like the modern pop songs match the animation.
Okay.
Or the feel of the animation. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. But yeah, that's my third dislike.
All right.
Which brings us to the end of this episode. What are you rating this?
I'm rating it 8.5.
Okay.
I enjoyed it tremendously. There again, my nitpicks are just nitpicks. And sometimes it's more like, who is this character? Why wasn't this song like fully? But other than that, I enjoyed it. The nostalgia trip was just amazing. Definitely for someone who has only experience with the specials and having a limited understanding of like most of what goes on in the world of Peanuts. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love this. It was great. It was a great little film to watch, definitely with friends. And yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable. And I wholeheartedly give it an 8.9.
8.9?
8.5. That's what I'm going to say.
I tried to do a different decimal point once, and you got me on it. So I'm not going to let you get away with it.
All right,
I'm also giving this an 8.5.
Okay.
The animation is spot on.
Agreed.
The primary thing I am knocking it down for, because I do feel this is a film mistake, is the little red-haired girl's face.
Okay.
I do think showing her face as early as they do, even though technically it's not fully revealed until the end. I guess they should not have revealed it at all until the last shot, and that's that's going to be the thing that's going to knock the score for me for this the most, down to 8.5.
Okay.
Because it could have been like it could have been a 9.5 if they'd have fixed that.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion there. So yeah, that's 8.5 is what I'm going to give it.
All right.
Which brings us to the end of another episode.
Yes.
Which means I need to tell y'all what movie we're watching next.
Something to do with Muppets.
Is it Muppets next?
No, puppets, actually. It's related to Muppets.
Yes. Next week, we're reviewing The Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So join us for that. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And I'm going to quickly move over here to the soundboard app so I can hit the button right when the time comes. And we will catch you in the next frame. Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
Same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast.
Oh, boy.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron, also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast.
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L. Good grief. And we're out.
Excellent.
All right, jumping up here. Catch everything we have not said. Ironically, Josh did end with good grief.
Yep.
He says, fun fact, the Peanuts characters are Christians, at least. Oh, I already started all this
You
stuff.
did.
Come on. He says, and I said that one. Okay. Oliver and his friends, Oliver and company, upcoming episode confirmed. No, because we already reviewed Oliver and Company.
Yes.
Why should we worry? Why should we care? It was done in season 2. Go back and check it out. Okay. Sally calls Linus Sweet Babu. I got it wrong.
Oh, okay.
And then Josh says, live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Live and learn from the works of yesterday. Live and learn. If you beg or if you borrow, live and learn. You may never find your way. Wow, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Josh says, I
Gamers.
hope to guest host on Little Jim's podcast one day.
Did you just call him Little Jim?
Yes, he did.
Oh my gosh.
Which, by the way, we are not on Little Jim's podcast anymore. We need to take that part out of the outro, but we haven't done it yet.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Little
And Josh says, and clipped.
Okay, so Little Jim is something that my uncles on my father's side call Jim Bob.
No kid.
Yeah. So my Uncle Mike's calls him Little Jim.
Josh says it's what I'm used to.
Yeah, I understand. I completely understand. But it's like I haven't heard someone call my brother Jim Little Jim in forever.
And which is hilarious considering I've met Little Jim.
Yeah, he's not little.
He's not little no more. Anyway, guys, yeah, join us next week for Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal.
Yes.
And maybe one day we'll get to some of the other Keflings later on. In the Age of Resistance. One day.
I was so confused what you were talking about.
If we ever finish Tangled, the series, once we actually get started recording What If and Lower Deck Season 2.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow's What If episode. It's zombies.
Oh, fun.
So anyway.
All right.
So yeah, join us next week for that, and we will catch y'all later. Unless you got anything else before I find somebody to raid? Since I'm actually going to remember to raid somebody tonight.
Right.
Who's up? Probably Book of Gaming I'm seeing, though Geek Devotions is playing chess.
They're playing chess?
They're playing chess. Not right now, he's not. Hang on. I guess I could turn this up where I could hear it.
You could.
Notifications. If your browser. No, I don't want notifications. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, go to full screen mode. Shit. So, guys, are y'all about to get off, or are you are going to?
Okay, then. Raid. Trying to do this more instead of go with the other thing. So slash raid. /raid. Oh, I think it's actually I gotta do it in mine. You know what? I'm just gonna go this way.
Clip.
No, I don't need to. He clipped us. He clipped me. Was what he clipped.
Yes.
Yank. Dashboard. Okay, so yeah, we are going to raid Geek Devotions. So thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see y'all later.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
How did I cut off that somehow? So before I go over there, and raid.
Change associations to sequel parts. Whoa, so cast